Here is your 20-minute hip mobility routine. It's actually going to take about 30 minutes the first time around. Going to be explaining some of the exercises or all the exercises as we go through. So they're going to take a little bit longer. They're going to be time-stamped at the bottom. So when you come back around and do this again, because you're going to love it so goddamn much, you're not going to be able to help yourself, you can just click the timestamps below to go straight to the next, straight to the exercise. I'll pop it in there so you don't have to watch the explanations the second or third time. Obviously, if you want to watch the explanation each time you go through, do that. So here we go. To start, we're going to start with a hip-controlled articular rotation. So we're going to be taking our hip through its fullest range of motion. So for this one, we're going to be standing on one leg, but it is not a balancing exercise. So here I've just got my wall here. So what I'm going to do firstly is I want to externally rotate my hip. So I need to bring my leg in front of my other leg a little bit so I don't kick it. So I'm going to externally rotate, and then I'm going to adduct, so drag it across, use the adductors here. Going to fight for that external rotation and adduction as I come all the way up into flexion. So I want to bring this knee as close to my chest as I can without rounding my spine up here. Now we're going to abduct. So I'm going to open up the door, go out as far as we can. Now I'm going to internally rotate my leg, trying to keep these knees as far apart from each other as I can as I come through to extension. That's halfway. Now I'm going to reverse. So go back to extension, come back around to the outside whilst fighting to keep internal rotation of that hip. Come around and then externally rotate back to adduction. So I'm going to do the other side now and I'll show it from the side. So we're going to externally rotate, drag across, go up, out to the side this way. Now we're going to internally rotate as I come through into extension. So extension's back here. What I don't want to do is extend through my spine. So keep your spine straight as you just extend through the hip. And then reverse, internally rotate, fight for some internal rotation of that leg as you come up into flexion. Once again, we don't want to do the spine here, it's just the hips. And then around to the start. So here you want to do 2 of those, only at a 30% effort roughly, just 2 of them on each leg. Next exercise we're going to do is a hip internal rotation passive range hold in a 90-90. So we're going to get down into a 90-90 position. So what we're doing here, it's called a 90-90, everything's at 90 degrees. So my ankle, my knee, my hip, my other leg, my knee, my ankle, everything's at 90 degrees. This back leg is the leg that we're going to be working here. So as I rotate away from it, there's no pressure here. As I rotate back, as my hips rotate back, I'm pushing this leg into internal rotation. So what I want you to do is we're going to come back to as much internal rotation as you can get into, and then you're going to try to rotate your leg this way, which means you're trying to effectively get the foot off the floor, but not moving forward, just trying to rotate the leg. But because you've come all the way to the end of your stretch, you're actually not going to be able to. You're going to try, so you should try. This is me trying. I should feel this tissue trying to work, but it just kind of can't because I'm right at the end of my passive range or at the end of my stretch. So here, I'm doing my best to lift this off and rotate, but I can't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist my body away so I come out of that stretch. I'm fighting. As soon as my foot comes off, I hold it up for 3 seconds, and that's 1 rep. So that's a passive range hold. So I'm getting all the way to my passive range, trying to lift off, rotate out until I'm holding, and that's 1 rep. Now, I just want to show from the front a couple of setups for this 90-90 because not everyone's going to be able to do this with an upright body. When I first started doing this work a few years ago, I actually had to start out here because when I come up here, it was like tension or in sort of the hamstring and adductor area. I want you to feel this like where the hip joint is. So if you come up too far and you feel a stretch in here, you're not feeling it in the joint, which is really where we want to work the hip joint for this one. So rather than being upright, just lean over a little bit. This is, say, your kickstand on your arm. Just go out a little bit further. From here, I can still rotate back and I might want to put my hands behind me here. And now I'm in this rotation. So from here, I've rotated as far as I can. I can't go anymore. I'm kind of thinking about trying to get my butt to the floor back here. Now I'm using this tissue, sort of the outside part of my butt, to try to rotate, get that foot off. I can't. I'm trying, and I rotate until it comes off. 1, 2, 3. That's 1 rep. Now here you should be cramping. Like these muscles here should be cramping because you're using muscles in areas you haven't used them. You're super, super weak there and you're trying to teach this muscle to work there. So that's your passive range hold. You're going to do 10 of those on each side for a 30-second hold each. So we're going to switch around to the other side. I'll do 2 of these ones. So to get into the stretch, I'm going to go to this leg here. So I'm going to rotate back. And just remember also, really important point is I'm trying to get the only part here that matters for the rotation of my leg is where my hip is in relation to my femur, my leg. If I just do this, I haven't actually moved my hips at all. It's just twisting my spine. So just be very cautious, not cautious, but just to make sure we do the right thing. You're not going to hurt yourself, but like rotate back and feel a stretch through here. Okay, that's as far as I can go. I can feel the stretch around the hip. I'm trying to lift that foot off. I can't. I rotate away. It's up. 1, 2, 3. And as you can tell by my voice and maybe the color of my head, I'm trying really hard. So rotate back, try to lift that foot up. Boom. That's 2. You're going to do 10 of those, 3 seconds hold on each leg. Next thing we're going to do is a 90-90 transfer. So get back into the 90-90 position. I'll just rotate around so you can see. So what we're doing is we're going from this 90-90, boom, to this 90-90. This is just called a 90-90 transfer. But what a lot of people do when they do this is they'll just kind of move their whole torso and their legs kind of go, and we're not really doing anything with our hips. The leg is just staying in the same angle in relation to our hip. So what I want to do when we do this, to do this properly and make sure the time and effort you're going to put in is actually going to bloody give you some benefit, is I'm going to drive this knee into the floor. So I'm using the glutes, my butt, the outside part of my butt here. I'm going to drive that into the floor as I lift this one up here. So don't worry about trying to do it like I am with your hands up off the floor. We'll get to that in a second. So I'm going to come here as far now I can't go any further. I just can't get my knees apart from each other. This one I'm still driving into the floor. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rock around really slowly, but I'm going to try to keep these knees as far apart from each other as I can using the glute meads, the outside part of my butt on each side. This is the halfway point. Then I'm going to rock around. I'm still trying to keep these as far apart as I can. And I keep going. Now this one's on the floor. Slowly control here. Boom. That's half a rep. We're going to go back the other way. So here, drive this into the floor using your glutes on this side, on my right leg here. Now I'm going to be lifting this knee up as I'm driving that knee down. Now I can't get them any further apart, so now I'm going to slowly control around, trying to keep these as far apart from each other as I can. Boom. And there we go. That's 1 rep. You're going to do 5. So it's 5 that way. Sorry, that way and back is 1 rep. And do 5 of those. Now, once again, to regress this, as I said, you don't need to be upright and using your core. You may not have the mobility to do this upright. Most people won't. So what I'll get you to do, actually probably need a bigger mat for this, because anyway, what I'll get you to do, instead of being upright, let's really lean back. The same way, as I said, when you're doing your sort of your 90-90, you could lean over as a kickstand if you're feeling it out here, exactly the same thing. So what you're going to do is get into this 90-90 position, be over here with your arm behind you, and from this angle, lift up, can't go any further, come back, you've got both your arms behind you here. You're still coming as far as you can, that knee's pushing down, I can't get them any further apart anymore, keep them as far apart as I can, rock around to the other side. Now I will lean over onto this arm and boom. So the further you lean back, the easier this is going to be if you need to make space for your mobility. So once again, whichever setup is right for you, and 5 full 90-90s each way. Next thing we're going to do is going to work on your hip extension. So this is going to work your hip flexors and your glutes. So what we're going to do is get into a half kneeling position. So this is a half kneeling position here, and we want to get a stretch in your hip flexors. Now, when most people stretch their hip flexors, all they'll do here is they do that. But notice I've got a big spine bend here going on. I'm doing my whole bloody body. Don't want to do that. What I want to do is get to this position here, and I'm actually going to tuck my hips under. So tuck your hips under here, and you will feel a stretch in your hip flexor. If I let my hips go back under here, nothing. Come here, I've got a stretch. Now that I've done that, I'm just going to rock forward a little bit. I'm not going to lean forward. I'm just going to move here till you get your stretch, and you're done. I want you to sit here just for 30 seconds. After that 30 seconds is up, what we're going to do is a PAILs contraction, followed by a rails contraction. All PAILs is, we're going to go into the full thing, it's progressive angular isometric loading, but you're going to be using this tissue that's on stretch. You're going to be trying to drag your leg through this way. So you're trying to scoop your knee through the floor. As you can see, I'm on some soft padding here. You can do this just with a cushion, put your knee on a cushion. So come forward, and then you're going to use this tissue here to try to scoop your knee forward. Now we're going to get up to about a 60 to 70% effort. Once you've done this 2 or 3 times, you can do this at 100% effort, as hard as you possibly can. If you do that, just do it for about 10 seconds that way. And then the rails, so after you've done that, is you're then gonna use your butt basically to try to lift that knee off the floor and pull into more extension. So anyway, here we go. So boom, get into the stretch, hold here for 30 seconds. Once that 30 seconds is up, just take a breath, hold your breath, brace your core, and now we're gonna start just building up. So you're going to scoop that knee into the floor using this tissue that's on stretch. Gradually build up, just 10, 20% to start, up to 30, to 40, 50, up to 60. So we're about 60 to 70% now. We're trying pretty damn hard. You're going to hold this for 30 seconds. 30 seconds. So we've got about 20 to go. Once that 30 seconds is up, once again, you're going to reverse direction. So you're going to try to effectively pull your knee up further. That way, you're in the end of your stretch. It's not going to go anywhere, but you're going to do your best. We've got about 10 seconds left. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you're going to use your butt, pull back, trying to do everything here. So I'm really squeezing my glutes. My hamstring might work here, making sure I'm keeping this tucked under at about 60, 70%. Gonna do this for about 30 seconds. About 15 left. Whoo. All right, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whew. Now, if you're up for it, stay where you are, have a rest for 30, 40 seconds, and then do a second rep, which would be 30 seconds that way and 30 seconds that way. So you're obviously going to do that on both legs. So the other leg is obviously just like this. However, what I'm going to show you next is the knee flexion passive range hold. So once you've done the hip extension, you can do 1 rep or 2 reps, do both hips, then come to this exercise. Back into the same position, half kneeling position. A little bit of balance may be required here, so just do it against a wall. Here, what we're going to do, bring your heel sort of as close to your butt as you can, then just grab your leg, grab your shin, pull it up. So now you've got a stretch here. Now you may not be able to get your heel all the way to your butt, like me. You may only get down to here, but just come up as far as you can. What we're going to do here, we're going to do a passive range hold, the same as we did with the hip internal rotation earlier. We're now doing it for your hamstring. And if you remember the hip internal rotation, I told you should probably get some cramps. This one's going to cramp worse. This is where my apparently famous catchphrase comes in. Sorry, not sorry. So we're going to pull here. So this is my passive range, which means I can't actively get there. The passive is just a stretch. But now I'm going to activate my hamstring to do my best to keep my heel as close to my butt as I can. I'm going to slowly let go until I'm holding it myself. 3, 2, 1. 1 rep. Woo. Come up, go again. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Come on. Trying to do my best to keep my heel as close to my butt as I can. 3, 2, 1. That's 2 reps. 10 reps. 3-second hold, which means you've got 30 seconds of total effort. Turn around, and then you've got your other knee. And there is your hip mobility drill exercise routine. Probably take you 15 to 20 minutes to do this. once you've done it once or twice, you've obviously watched how to do this. As I said, you can skip through this. There'll be timestamps below. I hope you enjoy it. Obviously, I've made this for everybody. I haven't assessed you to see how your body works. There may be certain exercises here that you find particularly difficult. If that's the case, obviously, just shoot me a message. You can get me, probably the best way to get me is actually on Instagram, which is ShaneWarren_fitness. And you can shoot me a message there. You can obviously pop in the comments here too, but if there's any exercises or that were sort of uncomfortable for you, you couldn't get into position, let me know what it was, and we may be able to sort of address that and change the sort of setup and suit it for you. But really, really simple. To start with, we're just doing that hip controlled articular rotations, trying to just find all the tissue in the hip capsule and the joint itself. Hip internal rotation, passive range holds. We're trying to really get some internal rotation because it's something that most people are lacking, and it's one of the common reasons that people have actually got some lower back pain. The 90-90 is just working through that range of motion, so we've actually got some control through there, strengthening up those hips as well. That one can get hard if you increase the intensity on that bad boy. Hip extension is a really big one for a lot of people because we sit so much. We really need to do this, but then the PAILs and rails efforts towards the end, we're doing some strength training at this end range. We don't just want to be able to get there, we want to be able to be strong there as well. And the knee flexion, passive range holds. Look, you need your hamstrings and your knees to work, which will obviously play a role in your hips there. Anyway, enjoy, hope you like it. If you didn't, let me know.